Are you ready to start generating some scalable and consistent real estate leads? Well, look no further. Google pay-per-click ads is one of the very best ways for you to generate high-quality real estate leads that are ready to close within the next 3 to 6 months. And the best part about it, you can start right now. In this video, I'm going to share with you some general information about Google Ads and exactly step-by-step how to set up your first Google pay-per-click campaign. What's going on, everybody? Kyle here, and I'm a real estate agent here in San Antonio, Texas. I've been in the business for about 12 years now, and I've been running Google Ads for about the last 8 years. Over that time, I've generated nearly 4,000 Google leads at a cost of about $40,000, but have generated over $200,000 in gross commission income coming straight from Google. Before I get into the actual setup of your first Google Ads campaign, I want to talk about some basic information and kind of the mindset you have to go through to start going down the Google ad path. The first thing that you need to know about Google Ads is that it does take a good amount of work to get it going, and you've got to be consistent. Don't just start turning on ads, turning off ads, and kind of being emotional about your decision. You have to go forward with a plan, which is what I'm going to talk to you about today, and let that plan run its course over the course of months and even years to really be effective. Okay, with that out of the way, first things first, what is a Google ad? If you ever go to Google and you type in a search keyword, you're gonna notice that when you get the search results page, there's gonna be usually the first 1 to 4 listings are gonna be an advertisement, followed by the organic listings below. Now, as a new agent, you're most likely not gonna show up on the first page of Google, maybe not even on the first 100 pages of Google for a search term like homes for sale in San Antonio, Texas. But with the power of Google pay-per-click ads, you can be #1 on Google from day one. So more specifically, we are talking about Google search ads. There are multiple types of ads that you can run through Google, including video ads and display network ads, all sorts of different ones. But the ones we're talking about today and the ones that I've found to be most effective for a real estate sales business is through the search pay-per-click. Now, the other question I get asked all the time is, are Google ads still worth it in 2020? I hear a lot about Facebook ads and Instagram ads and all sorts of other platforms out there that you can run advertisements on. And yes, the answer to that is absolutely. Google pay-per-click ads are, in my opinion, still one of the very best way to get high intent leads that are already further down the path of purchasing a home than many other sources. And let me explain what I mean by that. So first of all, when somebody goes to Google and they search homes for sale in 78258, which is a zip code here in San Antonio, Texas, that is realistically somebody who is about ready to buy a home in that zip code. Whereas on Facebook and a lot of the other social media networks, you're doing more interruption marketing where they're just scrolling their feed, and yes, your ad may catch their eye, and yes, they might have been thinking about purchasing a home, but they weren't actually intentfully searching for what it is that you're trying to offer to them. Therefore, Google ads typically tend to convert quicker and be of higher quality interest. Now, that's not to say that the social media ad platforms are not effective. They very much are. Typically, the trade-off is that on social media platforms, you'll get a lower cost lead compared to Google, but you're gonna have to generate more of them to get the same amount of deals. So it just kind of depends. Do you wanna work with less leads who are more likely to close sooner, or do you wanna work with more leads who may take a little longer in the process and you might have to have some better follow-up systems compared to the Google ads? For me, that decision was very clear, especially after the recent Facebook ads updates here in the last couple of years, where they very much eliminated a lot of the targeting options that we could have done in the past that helped our ads to be more effective. So then most of my marketing dollars shifted right back over to Google, which is where they're at today. The only thing that I use Facebook ads for still today is for retargeting ads. And this becomes a very powerful 1-2 punch for leads that you're generating from Google, but may not register, but then you can retarget them on Facebook and have another shot with them. But let's not get carried away. First things first, let's figure out Google ads. So the third question that I get about Google ads typically is about how much money should I spend on Google ads? What should my budget be? And how I normally answer that is I say as much as you can afford, with it being still part of your business plan without overspending, but realizing that this is a powerful tool for you to really start to jumpstart your real estate business, or if you're already having success, to give you more consistency in your business, because I promise you that Google pay-per-click ads work and they will be a positive return on investment for your business if you just learn the craft and really just prospect and nurture those leads. A good budget that I like to recommend to agents is normally between about $500 to $1,000 per month to start out with. And I know that might sound like a lot, but follow along with me as I give you some numbers that might ease your mind. There's really two numbers that you need to know at all times when you start to run ads. The first one is your landing page conversion ratio. This landing page conversion ratio is basically how many clicks it takes on your website to generate a lead. The real estate industry average is anywhere from about 2% to 5%. And in all of my experience, I average around a 2.5% conversion rate. So what this means is it takes 40 clicks to my website to get one person to register. The next number that you need to focus on is your lead to transaction ratio. This lead to transaction conversion ratio is also about 2 to 5% for our industry, and depending on what type of lead source that you're getting leads from. With most all of my Google pay-per-click leads, and with all of the work that I would put into them as far as prospecting, nurturing, and closing, I averaged around a 4% conversion ratio. So what this means is that for every 25 leads that I received, I would close one. So now we know if it takes 40 clicks to get a lead and 25 leads to get a closing, it's going to take 1,000 clicks to get a closing. So then next, if you start taking a look at the different costs per click for different markets throughout the US, you can get an idea of what it might cost you to get a closing. To find your average cost per click for your area, you can use the free Google keyword research tools. Now, the last two things that I'm going to talk about before I actually jump through the step-by-step tutorial on how to set up your first Google pay-per-click campaign is number one, landing pages. You probably heard me mentioning it as far as your landing page conversion ratio, but you might be sitting there wondering, well, what is a landing page? Well, your landing page is the page that you're going to send your clicks to that's going to hopefully convert that click into a lead for you, someone that's going to give you their email and their phone number in exchange for possibly a list of properties, an open house list, a foreclosure list, whatever it is that is your call to action. That is what's going to be on your landing page. And so there's many different types of landing pages that you can run. What I'm going to talk a little bit about today is just a very basic one using an IDX website. An IDX website is basically a website that you have that is plugged into your MLS where clients can search for properties on your website rather than Zillow, Realtor.com, or those other places. When you have an IDX website, you can actually set up specific landing pages for zip codes or homes with pools or anything that you might want to create that somebody would be searching for. The second thing that I want to cover is keyword research. I talked a little bit about keywords and figuring out what each keyword's cost per click is. Well, here's where we got to determine what are the keywords you are going to target for your advertisements. When you're in the Google Ads console, you also have a keywords planning tool that you can use that is free. You're going to type in keywords that you think people might be searching for in your area, and then you're going to see what the search volume is and the cost for those particular clicks are. Once you've identified a few good keywords that don't cost a lot compared to the other keywords you might have been looking up, and they have a good amount of search volume, meaning a few hundred to a few thousand searches per month, then I would add that to a list of keywords that we're going to target later on in the process. To keep it simple for this example, we're just going to do homes for sale in San Antonio, Texas. But then once you've identified what these keywords are, you're going to need to make sure that your landing page is going to match up to with whatever that ad is going to be. Now, the great thing with my website, and I use KV Core, is that whenever they search on my site, they're going to see the first property pull up with all of the information, but then as they try and see another property, it's going to then make them register to continue looking. And this is where the conversion ratio comes into play. About 39 of those people bounce from my site, but one will register. That's 2.5% conversion ratio. You can increase this conversion ratio by increasing the value of whatever it is that you're giving to the person who's hitting your site. But if you're just using an IDX feed with an IDX registration, typically the numbers tend to be around 2.5% conversion ratio. All right, so let's jump into the actual setup of your Google Ads campaign account. First thing you're going to need to do is head over to ads.google.com. If you don't already have a Google account, you're going to need to set one up right now. Once that's out of the way, you're going to set up your Google Ads account. First, you're going to want to click down below where it says experienced with Google Ads ? Now you might be thinking, I'm not experienced with Google Ads. Why am I clicking this? But that's only because if you don't click it, you're going to get Google Ads Express, which is kind of like for newbies and beginners. But since you're rolling with me right now, you are now going to go step right up into the actual manual Google pay-per-click ads, which is where the real power lies. So once you've done that, you're going to click on create an account without a campaign. That way you don't have to go through the process of setting up a first campaign right now. You just want to get your account, then confirm your business information and type explore my account. And there you go. Now your Google Ads account is set up. Now we got to start building your first campaign. But before we jump right in and start making that first campaign, what we want to do is set up a conversion metric. What this conversion metric is going to do over time is going to improve your cost per click, so you're not spending so much on clicks. Google will start to identify factors that are only going to give clicks to your site that are starting to convert into leads more frequently. The first thing that you're going to need to do is make sure that your website, your IDX website, is set up with Google Analytics tracking. If it's not, you're going to need to put the Google Analytics code on your IDX website, or have whoever is responsible for managing your website do it for you, and then show you how you can access your Google Analytics tool. Once you're inside of Google Analytics, what you want to do is link it to your Google AdWords account. You can do this by going over to the admin tools within Google Analytics, looking at the property column, and then clicking on Google Ads linking. There you'll configure the link, which should be a pretty straightforward process as long as you're using the same Google account for your ads account and for your analytics account. And then next, you're going to head over to Google Ads to go and make sure that the link is configured on that side as well. When you're back over at Google Ads, head up to the tools menu and click on linked accounts, and just make sure that it shows your Google Analytics account for the website that you want it to show. So next, what you're going to want to do after you've confirmed the link between Google Analytics and Google Ads is to go and set up your first goal within Google Analytics. To do this, head over to your admin tools in Google Analytics, click on Site Data, and then click on Goals, and then you'll get a few options for different goals you can select. You're going to want to click on Custom. With a custom goal, you can set up for tracking whenever somebody hits a specific website, or if they spend a certain duration on your site, or if they visited a certain amount of pages per session. Depending on how your website is configured will determine which one of these goals you'll need to set up. So for example, on my KV Core IDX website, when a lead registers, they do not get sent to a thank you page. However, they are able to continue searching additional pages on my website. Therefore, I use the pages per session and set it for 3, because I know if a lead spends more than 3 pages on one particular session, they are now a lead and I've hit my goal for that lead. If your IDX website sends a lead to a thank you page once they've filled out the form, then you can set up the destination custom goal and set the destination for the page that they get sent to once they convert to a lead. Once you've done this, you're going to want to go back to your Google Ads console and import these goals as custom conversions. To do this, head up to your tools and settings in Google Ads, click on conversions, click on the plus sign, then click on import. It's going to ask you where you want to import your leads from. You're going to say Google Analytics, and then choose the goal that you just created in Google Analytics. By setting up these goals, you're going to help Google Ads determine not only how to get you more clicks, but to get you more qualified clicks that are more likely to turn into actual leads on your website. That way you don't have to spend a bunch of money on clicks that might never convert. All right, with that out of the way, we are going to start on our first campaign. To set up your first campaign, you can click on Search Campaigns on the left bar there, hit the blue plus sign, select New Campaign, then select Leads. With leads checked, you're going to want to select Search and then hit Continue. Here's where you're going to want to set up your campaign name. So let's title our our campaign name, Homes for Sale Search Ad. Be sure to uncheck Display Network, as that's kind of your Instagram, Facebook kind of ads where there's a picture and it goes on all sorts of different websites. It's not targeted necessarily at search traffic. Select the location that you want your ads to show up in. And for location, I use the entire United States. Early on, I used to target just a radius around the area I was running ads for, but then it dawned on me that there's many more people searching for the area that are outside of that area, including out-of-state buyers and just people in different areas of your town. Therefore, setting up localized targeting may not be as important because their intent, they're searching for that term, regardless of where they're at, means they need information and they're probably a lead you want to work with. For languages, I put English just because I don't speak any other languages. I want to make sure that my ad spend is going towards leads that I can communicate with. However, if you speak several languages, that could be a benefit to you, that you can target specific languages and even target keywords that are in that language, and you'll most likely have a lower cost per click. I leave audiences alone, and then I set my budget. As far as bidding strategy, I click select a bid strategy directly, and then I select manual CPC and increase conversions with enhanced CPC. If you haven't set up conversions on either Google Analytics and Google Ads, then you can just leave the bidding to optimizing for clicks. However, with manual CPC with enhanced CPC, this is going to allow you to click show more settings, and then for the conversion, click conversion and say choose conversion actions for this campaign. You're going to select your conversion action and select the conversion that is the lead registration. With manual CPC set, you're going to be able to be more in tune with what you're bidding for each cost per click for each keyword. Next, we come to ad schedule, and this is super important. One of the key factors in converting internet leads is speed to lead, how quickly you can actually get in touch with that lead after they register. Most places used to say 5 minutes was the time to beat. Now it's gotten down to where it is 2 minutes. So you're going to want to pick times for your ads to run that you know you're going to be willing to work. Don't be putting them early in the morning or late at night if you're not going to be on your phone ready to work. Next, for ad rotation, I prefer Google Not Optimize and allow them to rotate indefinitely. This means that the same amount is going to get spent as close as possible on each ad grouping until I can start to see a pattern and determine if I want to keep moving forward with one zip code versus another, or if I want to just keep the even ad spend going throughout, versus letting Google determine which one is kind of starting to optimize faster or better, and then just start shifting all the money into that direction when I may not necessarily want that to happen. Below this is where you're going to get into extensions that add on to your advertisement. This can reduce your cost per click and get you more clicks with the same type of ads and the same impressions on your particular keywords. The way this works is it adds additional links below your advertisement that are more targeted. So for instance, if I set up a site link extension with 3 additional site links with different price brackets of homes in the zip code that I'm advertising, whoever searches for homes for sale in 78247 can click the generic ad, or they can click the actual individual site links for the price that they might be looking at, figuring that it's more targeted, which increases the likelihood that they're to click on my ad. Additionally, putting a call extension and adding in your phone number for them to call you immediately is another great useful tool. A lot of leads, especially in this market where homes are going quickly, know that if they see a home they like and they don't have a realtor, most likely they're going to want to call somebody right away versus sending a message or an email to the agent. All right, so next is where we get into ad groups. Ad groups are where you're going to store groups of keywords that your ad is going to target and run the individual advertisements to. The thing to make note of about ad groups is you want to keep them small and specific. Don't just put a ton of different keywords in one ad group. It becomes much easier to track when you're organized with your ad groups, and you can see when one ad group is outperforming another and know exactly why it is, versus stuffing a bunch of keywords into one particular ad group and making it much more difficult to know if an ad group is effective or not. Now, the important thing to note when you're selecting keywords for your ad group is that you're choosing keywords that are going to give you enough volume to be able to get impressions and actually have an opportunity to get clicks. If we head over to the keyword planner tool and we put in homes for sale in in San Antonio, along with some associated keywords, you'll see that we can get a reasonable estimate of clicks for our desired cost per click. In this case, I'm using about $2.20 for my max cost per click, but what you'll see is that in the keyword planner tool, that tells me that my average is going to be a little lower, about $1.57 per click, which I'm more than fine with. At this budget, it's going to get me right around 1,000 clicks per month, which, as we know, with the average conversion ratio, should equal about 1 deal per month going forward. Now, on an ease standpoint, I like this because I only have to create one ad group and I can get all of the clicks that I need for my website. I can set up one landing page or test 2 landing pages for this one ad group, but I'm not having to create a ton of different ad groups to be able to get to the amount of clicks that I want for the amount of leads that I need in the month. Now, another strategy that you can do is you could lower your max cost per click to say $1.50. Your average cost per click goes to closer to $1. You'll get less clicks, so you're gonna need to add in an additional ad group for maybe, let's just say, another nearby city like homes for sale in Cibolo, Texas, which is right outside of San Antonio. Create a landing page for that particular city, so that way whenever somebody clicks on it, they see just the homes over there, and now you can have a couple ad groups running. You'll have a lower cost per click average amongst both of your ad groups, so you'll be getting the same amount of leads at a lower cost per click. It takes a little bit more work, but overall it can be a great strategy to get you that maximum return on investment. Now, real quick, before we move on, I do just want to talk about keywords. When you're actually selecting keywords for the ad group that you're creating, you'll notice that there's a difference in match types for your keywords. So the normal match type, when you just type in a keyword, is considered a broad match. That means that Google will take that keyword and also apply it to other keywords that might be similar. So if you just say homes for sale in San Antonio, they potentially could put homes for rent San Antonio, homes for sale in 78258 San Antonio, commercial properties for sale in San Antonio, and some other terms that you may or may not want. That's why whenever I create an ad group and select keywords, I like to use either the phrase match or exact match type for my keywords. For a phrase match, you're going to put them in quotations, and basically what this says is that if you put homes for sale in San Antonio, they need to have that exact phrase in their search, but not necessarily only that phrase. So for instance, they might put the best homes for sale in San Antonio, Texas. Whereas for exact match, they have to have that exact phrase and only that exact phrase in their search. To create an exact match, you're going to put your keyword term in brackets. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and do phrase match and put everything in quotations. Once we've added in our keywords, homes for sale in San Antonio, houses for sale in San Antonio, and a few others, we can move on to creating the ads. Okay, so I recommend that you create 2 to 3 ads minimum per ad group to be able to test which ad is going to be more effective and give you a lower cost per click. For your advertisement, Google lets you put in a few things: a final URL, 3 headlines, a display path, and 2 descriptions. You're going to do all of these for each ad that you create inside of that ad group. The final URL is simply just the landing page that you're sending the traffic to. Headline 1, I try and match the keyword phrase that they're searching for as closely as possible. Headline 2, I normally put an incentive for them to click. This could be something like updated every 15 minutes. Headline 3, I'll either put my brand name, Kyle Handy, or I'll put in an additional incentive: see these homes first. Now for the display path, again, you want to match what their keywords are as close as possible. So for path 1, I'll put homes. For path 2, I'll put San Antonio. For both of the descriptions, you're just going to be giving more incentive for them to want to click on your advertisement. So for this example, I'll put in description 1, be the first to discover these homes for sale in San Antonio, huge selection, affordable prices. For description 2, I'll put set up showings and get help immediately from one of San Antonio's top-rated realtors. Now, once you're creating your second and third and fourth iteration of your ads, just try and change one thing at a time so you can kind of see which is more effective as you're moving forward and starting to understand which ads are more effective. And that's it. Once you've created those ads, your ad campaign is now set up. It's going to take usually a few hours to get approved, and then your ad will start running, and then you're going to want to let it run for a little while as you start to gather some more data. I don't recommend changing a whole lot within that first week to 2 weeks, depending on your budget and depending on how much data you're gathering, how quick quickly, but one of the main things that I'll do usually after that first week or two is I'll go in and I'll kind of see which ads are working better. And if we're running multiple ad groups, I'll see if there's a particular ad group that's getting a lower cost per click, or if there's just anything out of place with the actual ads running. In addition to that, you're going to want to take note of the quality score of your ad. This is something that goes into the actual cost per click. If you have a high quality score, that means that Google recognizes that your ad is delivering on the promise that it's making, and a lot of people are clicking on the ad, which will then go and lower your ad. If the quality score is low, Google will still show the ad, but usually at a higher cost. So you're going to want to improve that quality score through making that ad more relevant. Could be by revising the headlines or the description. It could be by optimizing the landing page that you're sending them to. But overall, if you're getting anywhere from about 7 to 8 out of 10 on your optimization score, you're doing okay. The other thing that I'll be looking for, especially if I'm not using phrase match or exact match on my keyword type in the ad groups, is I'll be checking to see the search terms that my ad is pulling up for and making sure that there's not any search terms that are undesirable. You can do this by going into the campaign, clicking on keywords, and then clicking on search terms. When you do that, you'll see all of the search terms that your ad is pulling up for, and if there's anything in there that you don't want it to show for, you may want to add that as a negative keyword. So for instance, if your ad was showing for rent and you don't want it to show for rent properties, you may want to put rent inside of one of the negative keywords. One other tip that you may want to do over a period of time is to test your landing page. So what we've talked about today is just kind of using your standard IDX page that you get with your website and using that to convert traffic into leads. Again, this is where you see about 2.5% conversion rate amongst most IDX sites out there. One way that you can increase that conversion ratio from 2.5%, I've seen all the way up to about 5 to 10%, is by actually creating a dedicated landing page, one that's not based on the IDX, but that has great imagery, has great text. It offers a great value to somebody who clicks and lands on that landing page, and you're going to ask for their name, email, and possibly phone number in exchange for a video about the area or a listing of properties or a guide to buying a home in that area. Anything like that could increase your conversion ratio and should be tested when you're running these ads. To do that, all you need to do is create additional ads within your ad group and change the final URL to the different landing page, and then you can start to see which landing page is converting at a higher rate. But again, just to get started and use what you already have, you can get started with your IDX site and doing exactly what we've talked about in this video to start getting some leads rolling in. Then over time, as you can put more effort and time into this, you create that additional landing page, potentially lower your cost per click in half if you can increase the conversion ratio by double. One of the last things I'll say is be sure that if you're going down this path, that you're going to respond to these leads very, very quickly, within 2 or 5 minutes. If you think about it like this, each click is going to cost you roughly $1.50, and it's going to take you about 40 clicks to get a lead, so that lead just cost about $60. I don't know about you, but I don't like to just waste $60. And essentially, if you're not calling that lead as quickly as possible, you quite possibly are going to be wasting that lead. I know through experience that Google leads can dramatically increase your business and help you to be more consistent because it's a constant deal flow. It's not just based on when you decide you want to go out and start to prospect. It's always going to be happening, so you need to make sure that you set up a system so that way you can not only respond to the leads when they first come in, but you've got a follow-up system that works with those leads months and years into the future. If you put all of these pieces into place, I promise you that the return on investment that you get for Google Ads is going to be one of the highest returns that you make on your entire business outside of sphere of influence, as I've talked about before. All right, well, that's it. If you've got any questions, be sure to put them in the comments below. I do try and answer every question that I receive. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I put out a new real estate training video every single week. And if you don't have a question, put a comment anyways and let me know that you're part of the 1% who makes it all the way through to the very end of the video. Kudos to you, and I appreciate you watching all the way this far. And until my next video, be well and go sell some homes.